One section of the market which has outperformed in the last few days has been the consumer and FMCG index. Today itself it is in the green, and if you look at the last few trading sessions too, pull up the 1 month, 6 month graph, you would see consumption stocks outperforming. So we thought of getting you a chat around it. Roosevelt Dsouza, head of consumer success at Nielsen, is now joining us. Roosevelt, good afternoon. Thank you so much for sharing time with us today. I just want to talk about the latest observation which you have shared, and also where is it trending. I remember it was 2 or 3 quarters back is when you had first of all highlighted that things have stopped deteriorating in rural India, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 India. Since then, how has the things shaped up trend wise, and also talk to us about your latest reading?
Firstly, Ajay, thank you for having me back on this capsule. We did talk about stabilization. I think in this environment, it is better to have a more stable environment than to have something which is more volatile. And we're seeing that playing out with rural really coming back and outpacing urban. We're seeing for the last 2 quarters, it is rural that is really holding the baton and moving the overall FMCG industry forward, right? So, and we would see that continue at least for the next 2 quarters.
Right, Mr. Dsouza, this is Vinny joining in the conversation as well. Good afternoon. I was just reading the recent report that was released for April to June. Now, in that, one thing that I was finding is that the food segment and the food sector, that's where the volumes are seeing a bit of a pressure in the rural-urban side versus non-food categories. Is that something as a trend that you're seeing even continue, or is that some concern point that we're watching out for?
Well, I would say, at Nielsen IQ, we track 87 categories, right? 30 of them are food. So when we look at food overall, it does look that there is a fair amount of suppression. But if you really break it through and unpeel it, you'll actually find that within the food category, it is staple that is really pulling down the volume. And whether you look at consumption, some amount of softness in atta or packaged salt, and also edible oils, right? So these are the 3 among the 30 that we see actually pulling down the overall food, packaged food volume and value. But on the other side, you'll see that there is a fair amount of growth and stability and consistent movement in the right direction for what we call the impulse and the impulse categories, and also salty snacks, which is that is really playing out. So these are some of the categories that it's not overall food, but it is more in the staple that we find some amount of softness in consumption.
Right. Roosevelt, we also saw that the consumers on the rural side and at tier 3, tier 4 had started down trading as far as most of the categories they used to use. Has that looking for the cheaper version, because the inflation trends had actually hit that pocket hard. Are the cheaper options now getting stabilized and people are reverting back to the categories and brands they liked, or are they still favoring the value segment more?
Well, I think if you see rural, the growth is 2x of what we are seeing in urban, right? So when we're actually looking at where it's really coming from, it is really coming from the non-food categories, right? It's more personal care and all that. And that's where the trade-off is happening among the rural consumer. But a lot of this is also linked in terms of disposable incomes, right? So when agriculture does well, there's more available income, which is then driving the economic growth. So we will see that a lot more happening in rural. The other thing that we've also got to look at, if you do year on year versus the same period ago, there is also the base effect that you'll always see that will help us or help the rural category.
All right, Roosevelt, we'll let you go on that one. Thanks so much for joining us and sharing your insights as far as the rural consumption trends are concerned.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.